Welcome and buckle up. Get ready to shift your life into a higher gear. We are with one of the world's top 1% experiential keynote speakers, Dr. Delatorro McNeal, who's going to help you lean in to a better life.
From the Stream Center, welcome to Bloom Health Club, sponsored by Monticciolo Family and Sedation Dentistry.
Check it out, everyone. We are blooming in our new and improved studio.
Let's go.
And man, what better guest could we have than our hometown hero, Dr. Delatorro McNeal? Man, you are a legend. Man, so
Gail, it's
glad you're
always
here.
an honor to be here with you. Woohoo! The studio looks fantastic. Absolutely amazing. So much to celebrate.
Well, there is so much to talk about today when it comes to our lead guest, because you have accomplished so much. But I want to kind of roll things back a little bit into the early days. And of course, loop in my producer, Sarah Smith, who is along for the ride. She's going to be switching and jumping in.
Hey, good to see you, Dr. Delatorro.
Always a
Happy
joy
to
and an
have
honor,
you.
Sarah. Absolutely.
So when did you come up with this idea to become the world's experiential keynote speaker? I mean, because I remember meeting you back in the day when I was still an anchor and journalist at WFLA in the newsroom.
Right. So for me, I honestly would say, Gail, that the impetus for really pursuing speaking as a full-time career happened relatively earlier in my life. You know, I was raised by a mom who was a Sunday school teacher and an English teacher. So my mom instilled in me at a very early age an appreciation for language, an appreciation for words, an appreciation for diction, enunciation, pronunciation, grammar, right? So at the dinner table every day, instead of talking about the latest cartoons and latest TV shows, my mom was constantly correcting my grammar and my English and making me choose different, better words and all the whole 9 yards. I got punished if I used cuss words, right? It was deep. So that kind of at an early age kind of gave me a bend towards speaking. And then I would go to church on Sundays and I would hear the preachers and all these people do what they do, but I never felt like that's what I was supposed to do. So I'm like, okay, I feel like I have this gift of communication, but I don't know how to make it work because I don't feel like I'm supposed to do that necessarily. So I had to start finding a different path, and personal development was that path for me. And the more I read personal development books, it started to like resonate with me. And I was like, man, I could do this kind of stuff, because it was just people were getting paid to be positive and uplift humanity. And I'm like, I think I could do that.
I love it. I love it. And, you know, I was listening to talk about famous pastors, Joel Osteen, talk about the story of a little boy, you know, thinking about his dreams, dreaming about his dreams, and was told, go find something else to do. And I had no idea that he was talking about Dr. Delatorro McNeal, because he shares stories, but he never says who he's talking about.
Right.
He was talking about you.
Absolutely.
Tell me that story. It's so cool.
Gail, I can't make this stuff up. I tell people all the time that God is my publicist, because some of the most amazing things happen in my career, and it's like, I can't credit any one particular person for it. It was just a God thing, right? So the story he was talking about is actually a very powerful story, and he's actually shared it in two different sermons. One is Tell Them What They Can Become, and the other one's called Barrier Breaker. So he's actually shared my story both times. Now, Gail, here's the part of the story that you don't know. The first time he shared my story, I wasn't physically at Lakewood. The second time he shared my story in front of like tens of thousands of people, I was actually at Lakewood the second time he did it. And it was crazy bananas. So here's the story. When I was in the 5th and 6th grade, I was labeled an at-risk youth and told academically I didn't have much potential right here in Hillsborough County. So they put me in a class full of all at-risk kids. And the reason why I was labeled at-risk is because I was having trouble at home. My parents divorced when I was 2. So I was really kind of longing for a lot of things that I needed in my life that I just couldn't get at the time. And so I acted out in school. So my first African-American teacher, who's still living to this day, her name is Miss Diane Williams, and she was my first African-American teacher I had in the 6th grade at Progress Village. And on the first day of class, I'm in this room full of all basically troubled kids. And the first day of class, she looks at me on the first day of class and says, "You're not a youth at risk. You're a youth at promise. And I'm not just going to teach you this year." She's talking directly to me. She's like, "I'm going to mentor you this year." And she said, at recess, all your friends are going to get the full amount of time. But at recess, you're going to spend half the time with your friends. And the other half of the time at recess, you're going to sit your butt right next to me. And I'm going to teach you about life. And she made a decision in that moment that she was going to take me under her wing. You know, and to this day, I honor her because she's such a, she was a catalyst that shifted things, you know, in my life long before I wrote the book on shifting, right?
Right.
Diane Williams shifted my life because she went from just being an academician. She went from just being a teacher, an educator, to a mentor, and she saw something in me and she called it forth. I think every time we go up to someone who served in our military, we should shake their hand and say, thank you for your service, right? But I think every time we go up to an educator, we need to give them a hug and say, thank you for your impact.
Yeah.
Because every one of us have a favorite teacher that changed our life. And so Miss Diane Williams did that for me. And because she relabeled me, Gail, after the 6th grade, I had no more academic challenges. I mean, I was able to go to Florida State, and I was able to finish high school, finished high school on time at 17, went to Florida State, got a bachelor's and master's, 2 degrees in 5 years with a 4.0 and no debt. Come on, Sarah. That's not bad, right?
That's incredible.
Isn't it? And man, Miss Diane Williams must be so proud of you that now you're paying it forward
That
and
part.
you're helping so many people
Yeah.
shift their lives in a new direction, in a positive direction, and living their fullest potential. Because when you get to my age, Dr. Delatorro, you know you only got one shot.
That's right.
You get one shot at this life.
That's
So
right.
you might as well do it right.
And you got to go all the way out. You got to lean all the way in. One of the things I'll really encourage people to do is I like to help people understand that the motorcycle of your life, the motorcycle of your business, the motorcycle of your family, the motorcycle of your finances is listening to how you live. And the motorcycle of your life is taking 100% of its direction from your intention. Now, how does the motorcycle of your life know your intention? Based upon where you put your weight.
That's
See,
good.
cars are cool, but motorcycles are way cooler because a motorcycle is constantly sensing weight distribution. And based upon the weight distribution, it senses where you really want to go. So on a motorcycle, I don't have to turn a steering wheel left to go left. All I have to do is lean left. So if I lean more into my marriage gets better. If I lean more into my business gets better. If I lean more into a young person who has tremendous potential, but he's acting out in school because his parents got divorced, maybe that young kid can become something one day, and maybe that one kid can change the world. And that's what Miss Diane Williams did for me. She leaned into me, right? Gail, you've leaned into Bloom. Is that right?
Yes,
right?
yes.
We've leaned into this Health Club podcast, right? So I'm so excited about anytime you lean into something, you take a leadership role of that thing. I leaned into my health. I leaned into my fitness, did the 75 hard, did the mutter, leaned into the health thing, right? Fixed all the heart issues. So anything that you really want to change in your life, lean into it more and take a leadership role in it, and you'll succeed.
Sarah, this must speak to you.
Yeah.
Sarah, who's been with me since the beginning, is going to lean into a new path in life.
Yeah.
But I will tell you that when we talk about leaning in, and Sarah, chime in at any time, people need to understand that once you make the decision to lean in, that doesn't mean that it's going to be an easy journey.
Or sunshines and rainbows.
And
It's gonna
unicorns.
there's going to be struggles along
Absolutely.
the way. And that was going to lead me into my next question of, do you believe people are more addicted to struggle than success? Like they sit in their pain or the things that they've experienced instead of choosing to level up?
See, that's a fantastic question, Sarah. One of the things that I teach people all the time is whatever you're not actively changing, you're actively choosing. I'm going to say that again slower. Whatever we're not actively changing in life, right? We're actively choosing it, right? This is a health show. So it's true, right? If we're not actively changing our health, we're choosing our health as it is. If we're not actively changing our career, we're choosing our career as it is. If I'm not actively changing and growing and matriculating my relationship, I'm choosing the relationship in the same status that it's in. So no matter what it is that you're dealing with in life, whether it's a parenting thing or a personal, emotional thing or a spiritual thing or no matter what, career thing, right? Money thing. If I'm not actively changing it, I'm choosing it in the state that it's in. And if I'm choosing it in the state that it's in, I can't complain about it because that's the choice that I've made.
Speaking of, I know, that's
You
really
always
good.
have the best sayings.
I know, it's so
Always.
good. And speaking of the best, man, you just made a life decision to transform your own health. And it has been a remarkable one. You did that viral challenge that everybody's talking about on social
75
media,
hard.
75 hard. And you did it to train for the mutter.
The tough mutter all day.
tough mutter.
Yeah, my first obstacle course race.
Man, when you walked into the studio for our television show, I was blown away by your transformation, and you did it in such a short amount of time.
Yeah.
What made you decide to do this?
So a couple things. So you mentioned several things, Gail. You talked about doing it in a compressed amount of time. One of the things that I firmly believe is that if we're going to live our lives to the fullest, sometimes you have to immerse yourself into an experience for an abbreviated period of time to get an outcome that you need. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
We have to really concentrate energy and effort into one thing. And so I said, okay, I don't come from a military background. I didn't play sports and all those things. So I didn't really have something that forced me to develop the habit of fitness. So I said, how do I develop that habit of fitness? Because I wasn't like obese, right? I looked great in my clothes before the 75 hard. I'm waiting for y'all to say amen.
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 Amen. I'm going to throw my hand
No,
up.
as my pastor says, come
sorry.
on, somebody.
Come on, somebody, right? So no, but I mean, I wasn't obese before, but I mean, I just wasn't really where I wanted to be. I kind of had a little bit of a dad bod, and I wanted to fix that. So I said, okay, let's go on this journey and let's do the 75 hard, because it's a concentrated, immersed experience that allows me to say, okay, this date. So here's what I did, Gail, in my mind. I'm like, okay, the date of when 75 hard ends is going to come and go, whether I do the challenge or not. The real question is, will I be a better version of myself on the other side of that 75 days?
Right.
Does that
And
make
you
sense?
are 100%.
So I could have sat back and done life as I normally do, and 75 days later, I'd still look the same way I did.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, most women appreciate a good dad bod.
Yeah.
But
Whoa, Gail.
But
Let's
that's not.
go.
I mean, they do. We
Right,
do.
right.
But it's never a bad thing to take it to the next
Next
level.
level, right,
And you must
right.
feel fantastic.
Sensational. I feel sensational every day. I mean, I had high energy before, so it's like it's kind of insane now. So I'm really trying to like manage it because it's on a whole nother level. So
Talk
I'm
to
really
me about
excited
the
about it.
dimensions. What'd you lose? How'd everything fall into
So
place?
I've lost about 36 pounds. I thought it was 31, but I've lost around 36 pounds, 5 inches in the waist, 2.5 inches in the neck, 8% body fat reduction. I mean, I've got to get a whole new wardrobe. Literally, it's
Wow.
crazy. So I'm going to be donating a lot of my previous clothes to youth and young people in the inner city because I believe that everything is energy. And I believe that I could always, of course, give my clothes to the Salvation Army or Goodwill. And I've done that. But I believe that everything is energy. So if I can donate my clothes, my suits, and my dress shirts and things of that nature that I've used to infuse audiences all over the world and inspire people, then when those young people wear those clothes, then I believe it's going to inspire them to go for great things as well.
So
Really good.
Dr. Delatorro is so good. How did you break in from a dream phase to a reality phase when it came to taking the stage and commanding the
Wow.
stage? Because, people have that, but they're like, oh, I'm scared, or they get the imposter syndrome and all the things that hold them back. But not you, man. I remember meeting you, shaking your hand in Studio A here at WFLA, and sure enough, I blinked and you're everywhere. I'm like, what? It's like you morphed into this like superstar.
Oh, so I credit that to a couple things. So there's two things I want to address really quickly. Sarah brought up something earlier. She was like, when we're going after things in life, it's not always going to be sunshine and rainbows, right? So I want to kind of address that really quickly because the only way, Gail, that I was able to overcome the obstacles and challenges that I've had to overcome is by understanding this powerful thing. You're going to fail on the way to something big, and you're going to fail on the way to something small. So if failure is an automatic part of success, I'd rather have a bigger outcome on the other side of what I go through. So if I'm going to fail on the way to a small outcome and I'm going to fail on the way to a big outcome, why not just go for the big outcomes? So I've just trained myself, Sarah and Gail, to not worry about the failure part of the equation because it's an automatic part of success. So watch this, family. If I'm going to fail building a $100,000 business, I'm going to fail building a $100,000 business, annual business. I'm also going to experience failure along the path to building $1 million business. If I'm going to experience failure going down either path, I'd rather go down the path that's going to give me and my family a greater outcome.
I love that.
So that's one of the decisions, that's one of the mindset shifts that I made. I said, failure is an automatic part of success. So if I'm going to fail on the way to a 10-day vacation and I'm going to fail on the way to a 1-day staycation, I'd rather go on the 10-day vacation, right? So let's all embrace the fact that failure is a part of it. right? So if failure is a part of no matter what it is, let's learn how to overcome failure so that we can succeed in spite of failure.
Let's talk about your book, Shift into a Higher Gear,
Let's
man.
go.
You're teaching everybody, if they can't make it to one of your incredible experiential, speaking engagements, they can read about these hacks and these, gifts, nuggets that you give folks to shift into a higher gear. You
That's right.
talked about the whole motorcycle analogy, leaning into it. But what are some of the highlights of your book that you want people to know about besides the whole thing?
Right. Let's get it. Let's go. Right. So Gail, what's really powerful is I believe in the importance of metaphors, and I believe in the importance of mentorship. And so this book allows me to mentor people through the whether they get it on Audible, they get the physical book. It's literally a seminar on paper, because one of the things that we help people do is to make shifts. Every chapter starts with the action verb shift. And so one of the chapters, for example, which is probably one of the hallmarks, Gail, from my career, because you asked the question earlier, like, how did you go from thinking about the dream to doing the dream? And what allowed me to go from thinking about the dream and wanting the dream, which is what most people do, to actualizing and manifesting the dream was chapter 8, Shift Your Posse, because who you ride with matters. I decided at a younger age that I was going to embrace, because of Miss Diane Williams in the 6th grade, I learned a powerful lesson. One person can change your life. That's what that experience of being labeled at-risk youth taught me, was that one person can change your life. Because out of all my teachers in 6th grade, she was the one that took me under her wing. And so that taught me about mentorship. So what allowed me to go from dreaming about speaking to becoming a speaker was having incredible mentors. So I've had amazing mentors. Dr. Willie Jolly has been one of my greatest mentors. Les Brown, one of my greatest mentors. Zig Ziglar, may he rest in peace, power, and prosperity, was a mentor. Dr. Maya Angelou, may she rest in peace, power, and prosperity, a powerful mentor. Dr. Stephen Covey was a fantastic mentor. So I've had so many amazing, Dr. Lee Jones, who was my mentor at Florida State. I've had so many amazing mentors. Dr. Samuel Wright, who is right here in Tampa, Florida, right? At the University of South Florida, taught at USF for years. One of my mentors. So I say all that to say, I've had a lot of people who've poured into me. And one of the things that I firmly believe is that the more we can have, Dan Sullivan wrote a great book called Who Not How. And one of the things that he talked about in that book is that it's not so much the how of the goal, but it's who needs to know you have that goal so they can help you achieve it 10 times faster.
Like, how do you get to the peace part of okay, I've reached the top, instead of leveling up? Like, where's the ceiling, the glass ceiling?
So I love something that Will Smith said recently, Gail. You've probably heard about it, right? He said, everybody talks about rock bottom, but nobody talks about cliff top. And one of the things that I thought was really cool when he mentioned that was, he said, when you get to the top where money is not an issue and your network isn't an issue, how in the world do you stay motivated when you have it all? And so one of the things that I've learned to do over the years is really just focus on appreciation and gratitude.
Yes.
Being grateful for what I already have. Gail, we talk about this all the time. It's one thing. There's a great quote that says, it is not he or she that has less, but he or she that constantly wants more that is poor.
So true.
And so if we're constantly, I got to have the better car, the better house, at some point you got to put bookends on this thing. At some point we got to score a touchdown. But the problem that we have as high achievers is we're constantly running and we never get to the touchdown, because as soon as we get close to it, we push it back. We say, okay, cool. I made $30,000 a month in my business. Now I'm trying to make $50,000 a month. And so you're never satisfied with the 30 because you can't wait to get to the 50. And the problem with that is that you're never satisfied. So we have to at some point learn to put bookends on our achievements so we can say, I did that, right? Even God, when he created the world, he said, I did that Monday thing. It was good. Boom. I did Tuesday. It was good, right? And so we have to learn to appreciate what we've done and put a stamp in it and say, we killed that. We crushed that. Onward to the next thing. But that was awesome.
That's amazing. And what a great way to look at it. Because you're right. If you're always going for the next dollar, the next achievement, you're not finding that balance of life.
And the peace of saying, wow, I can sit in this.
Right.
And sometimes, Gail, life does that to us. So we can have a big accomplishment, a big achievement. And then what happens is life shows up and gives us an illness or gives us a sprain or gives us an injury or something that sits us down to where we can't do the thing that we're so used to doing. And it gives us that time to really pontificate and to think and to reflect and to appreciate.
So even in your darker times, in your lower times, because we all go through
We all
them,
have them, yeah.
that's when you really start to express gratitude
Right.
for what you have accomplished in life and to stay positive. Because if you don't, then that's when you get stuck in the rut of life. And that's what I think a lot of people listening today are like, what can I do to get out of the rut?
The first thing you got to do if you want to get out of the rut is you have to see something different. See, adversity, hardship, challenge, the first thing it comes to do is take your vision. Because if you can't see a better tomorrow, you're not going to pursue a better tomorrow. That's why you have to stay around mentors, people who've done more than you've done, coaches, people who will hold you accountable to take you from where you are to where you want to be, and constantly having a vision of something better in the future. As long as my youngest daughter, her name is Hope. And I gave both of my daughters dope names. So my oldest daughter's Miracle, my youngest daughter's name's Hope.
I love that.
I wanted them to have dope names so that anytime anyone addressed them, they had to address them in a positive fashion.
I love that.
You can't say Miracle, you can't say Hope without thinking something positive. So I wanted that. Anyway, hope allows us to dream into the future. Hope allows us to see past the dark moments of today. And the more you can realize that tough times don't last, but tough people do, and you can develop resilience, which is bounce back ability, you can succeed against any of the obstacles and the odds that you come against. Listen, we live in Florida, right? We had 2 hurricanes last year, and we're still thriving.
And we are still thriving.
So what that means is, listen, the tough times in life and business don't remain. But if we are strong and if we're perseverant, we can make it through anything.
I love that. Well, it's taken us a really long time to grow our show, the globally syndicated Bloom that you watch on TV, and now our new streaming Bloom Health Club. We're so excited about our new sponsor, Monticciolo Family and Sedation Dentistry, for believing in us as well. Sarah, it has been a pleasure to work with you. We couldn't end it on a better high note, your tenure with us, than with Dr. Delatorro McNeal.
Let's go.
Thank
breathing
you.
life into everyone and into your next chapter. So thank you so much for joining us. And don't forget, you can watch us anytime on Apple TV, Fire TV, Roku, WFLA, and on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Stick around. We'll be back